I regret that George Soros was not here yesterday. At the finance seminar, we had an interesting paper presented by an outside speaker that was describing the position of hedge funds during the technology bubble. And interestingly, what he documents in his paper is that Soros funds was actually quite long in technology up to March 2000. So the financial experts like George Soros seems to be unable to identify and time properly financial bubble should give us some pause about the ability to sort of time and identify the political bubble. Now, this said, I agree with a lot of the statements in George Soros' book. I think that the war with Iraq was a big mistake, and I said that before the war started, not only now. But I sort of disagree with a little bit of the tone that is in the book. In the sense, I think George Soros is very honest because he characterizes as a pamphlet. He's a personal j'accuse à la Zola against George Bush. And I think that what I find it more interesting, maybe from a scholarly point of view, is why we arrived to that and why there was, to some extent, a collective suspension of judgment around a certain time. And let me make a precise example. A year ago, when Raghu and I were promoting our book, we wrote a bunch of articles about Iraq against the war and trying to describe what Roger Smyson was saying, what were the problems of trying to build a democracy in a country that has no tradition of democracy and even has a sort of a very concentrated economic power. Who controlled oil control the country. We found impossible to publish these articles. Now, you might think this is because we don't write very well, but interestingly, in June, we started to get called back from newspapers. They wanted to publish those articles. Two of them were published, one in the Chicago Tribune, the other on the Sun-Times. And actually, by October, even the Washington Post called us back and said, we want an article on Iraq, we think you are right. Now, so the question is why, collectively, a lot of people were in favor of the war. And it's interesting, George Soros makes it a personal campaign against George Bush, but I want to remind you that the vast majority of the American people was in favor of this policy. All the Democrats are now running for president and they were in the Senate voted in favor. So there was a collective suspension of judgment. And in that sense, I think that this is what is, to some extent, the analogy with the financial bubble. During the financial bubble, people don't know exactly what the true fundamental value is, and even sort of more sophisticated people, like George Soros, might actually ride the bubble rather than back the trend because they're not sure. And as a result, I think a healthy expression of this sense, in financial markets we need people who short sell, who are contrarian, so we do in an open society. And in an open society we need people that go out and say, no, this is a mistake. Why these forces did not come out at that time, why they were to some extent suppressed, even in an open society like the United States. I come from a country where the media is actually owned by the Prime Minister, so it's sort of, there it's not so surprising that expression of dissent don't come out, but in the United States, fortunately, we're not in that situation. And why they don't come out, I think that they didn't come out, I think that's, to me, a more interesting a question that needs to be addressed because we know that an open society like the United States had periods where sort of suppressed this. The McCarthy era, I think, was one. And we are afraid that this might happen again. So I think that's the part I would like to investigate more. And to conclude, there is in a proposal, the part of the book that tried to sort of make proposals, George Soros actually returns on his idea of the dangers of sort of open financial markets. And here, this is the part I disagree the most in the book, because I think that it's crucial to an open society to have access to finance. It's only through access to finance that people can sort of bring new ideas.